correctly with the correct amount.
D20 Radio, where gamers roll.
www.d20radio.com.
Welcome back to the How We Roll Gaming podcast. Great to be back. Great to have Robert back.
Yep. Hello. Glad to be back, everybody.
Robert has finished moving. Robert has a new background now.
Yes, as you can see, it's my new place.
Hardwood flooring, new vacuum cleaner, and I think I see even a microwave in the background.
Yep. It's missing one leg, but as long as it stays upright, it's good.
Yep, there you go. You can make all sorts of explosives in it, even if it's missing a leg. The Terminator showed us that in the first movie.
Too true.
Not that Robert would do that. Robert is a much saner person than we are.
And also, Robert doesn't need a bomb in his new home that he just paid his first rent for.
That's true.
Yet. It's always yet.
Yeah, so are the neighbors nice and quiet, or at least chill?
Oh yeah, they're chill. I haven't even met any of them, and even though I'm on the bottom apartment, and there's not much noise coming from the guy upstairs.
Well, that's good.
Oh, right on.
Well,
right on. Good. I have had noisy upstairs neighbors. I've been a noisy upstairs neighbor. The last apartment we were upstairs, and our washing machine was out of balance, and I know they hated us every time I ran the wash.
Yeah, well, ours, I don't have my own. It's a communal laundromat, just small walk from here.
Like not a laundry room, but a actual laundromat.
Pretty much, yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that's what most apartment complexes are. You get to go drop a couple of coins in, or if you're like me, I just loaded everything up and headed over to my mom's until I was a responsible adult, married with a child on the way. Then we got our own washer and dryer.
Funny you mentioned that, because I do sometimes just go to my parents' house and do it.
Yep. And Daryl, when did that happen? Has that happened yet?
Nick, I know where you live, and I know how to get squirrels there.
Oh,
he has a kid at college age, Nick. He's still alive, so he's at least responsible.
I know how to get squirrels to your house.
Don't say that, because there's literally, as you were leaving, I was watching a squirrel in a tree right behind your car.
And the squirrel looked at you and pointed at his eyes, pointed at your eyes, pointed at his eyes, pointed at your eyes, said, "I'm coming for you." And then Superman swooped in and saved him.
And transported him.
Yes.
I'm just saying, maybe Lex Luthor wasn't wrong.
Robert, it's a shame you had to miss our Superman outing, because I swear to you, when Superman saved the squirrel, every single one of us turned and looked at Nick.
Well, it's good to leave some things to the imagination.
It's apparently, their description is exactly how you would imagine my reaction was.
Yeah.
Like, remember when we went to Honor Among Thieves, and Stephanie and I had told you all, yeah, there's a scene that's exactly the kind of shenanigans that we all pull, and it got to the heist scene, and you all turned and looked at the two of us like, is this it? Yeah, it was kind of like that. Except we were all looking at Nick like, yeah, he saved the squirrel. It's a squirrel.
Can't fault him for it, Nick. He doesn't know.
Yeah.
Plus, it's an urban squirrel. Urban squirrels know to just run away.
That's true.
No, urban squirrels are even worse. Urban squirrels carry blades.
Or it could be the squirrels from College Station, because they knew people would just give them food, so they would literally just go up on the table and just look at you, and be like, "Come on."
Yeah, I believe the squirrels at North Texas were like that too.
Same at UTD. They're mafia squirrels. They come up there, it's like, pay up.
Funny you mentioned Mafia. I know that the new Mafia game's coming out soon on the 8th.
Oh yeah, that is.
YouTube won't stop showing the ad.
Oh, speaking of stuff coming up, I was showing Nick today Edge Studios unboxing video of the new Arkham Horror campaign setting box because he hadn't seen that video before. This thing is insane. And on the way home from Nick's before recording, I stopped at the local game store to see if they had it in. They did. I didn't pick it up yet. I swear to you, it is like 4 or 5 inches thick. It is huge.
It is packed with stuff.
Like the thickest we've seen yet, even bigger than the Star Wars core rule books.
You know, this is not a core rule book. This is a campaign box. This is a box set. So,
like kind of like bigger than the Avatar one behind you.
Roughly,
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So,
and way more content than that.
So, behind me here is the Arkham Horror starter set, right?
It's a good size box. Good size box.
It is a very good box. We know what's in it.
The new campaign box is kind of like that. It's almost twice as thick as this box.
And it has.
I like
so much in there. It is. It's impressive.
Looks astounding. And they also just announced a new campaign book coming out in the 4th quarter for Arkham Horror.
Edge Studios is definitely going all in right now.
Yeah, Edge Studios is all in on Arkham Horror right now.
And we love them for it.
We do. And they also released an announcement video for a game that Stephanie has said, I must have this. I showed it to Nick today, and he said, I must have this.
Save that for tomorrow, if you are able to come to tomorrow. It's an Avatar game.
Of course I'm going. It's Avatar.
Well, I mean, Nick, I'm not going to leave the listeners hanging just to leave Robert hanging until tomorrow.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah.
Dungeons and Kittens. Animated kittens that you play.
Well, I get the appeal, but as someone who's allergic to cats, a little bit of a drawback for me.
Fortunately, they are cartoon cats, so you will not be allergic if we play.
Fair.
We will not bring our cats as props.
Okay. Thank you for that.
We will not bring our cats as props.
That's how it is. Recently discovered that I am allergic to the cats that also helps me.
That's why Betsy and I have been trying to get Nick to adopt a cat from Feral Friends.
I think he can handle it, and besides, cats hunt mice creatures like squirrels.
This is true.
Unless they decide to do a team up.
But then again, if you get a cat, you're going to have to lock it up every time I come in.
I have been remiss. We're recording this as Gen Con is going on. I have been remiss in paying attention to any actual information coming out of Gen Con, but we definitely have some friends there. Our friend Scott Zumwalt is there, and he's running some Arkham Horror games for Edge at Gen Con. I've seen pictures that the Greens are there that we've met from Gamer Nation Con, and I think there's a couple other people that we know who are there. Not counting, of course, some of the pros that we've met. So, it would be nice if we got some Star Wars and Genesis news out of Gen Con, but I'm not holding my breath. When the news comes for those, the news will come for those.
Yes, it will. And I know you will be the first one to find it and let us know, Daryl.
Yes. Speaking of something new coming, though, Robert and Nick, both of you are kind of excited when I saw yesterday that Free League is releasing a new starter set for the One Ring.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I will end up with 2 starter sets for the One Ring because I went in and looked at my materials that I have for the starter set. I looked at my starter set and was like, this does not match what they're saying this one is. It is all new, so new starter set coming for me at some point.
Mm-hmm.
One of
Goody,
these days I'll
goody.
actually play it.
One of these days we'll play a lot of games we have.
Yeah.
Plenty
Yeah.
of ideas, plenty of plans. But speaking of games, there's some things that we need to talk about before we get into our main topic today.
Too true,
Yeah,
too
there
true.
is.
I mean, like, it's no secret I love me some Eberron. And for people like me, there's Eberron, the Eberron Renewed podcast. Eberron Renewed is an actual play podcast that focuses on a long-term storytelling and character development.
Yes, and their current 3rd campaign has, as of this recording, 44 episodes. The most recent being Chapter 6 of a storyline called Little Boxes on a Hill.
And you can catch Eberron Renewed with the Game Master Eric and players Mia, Philip, Madison, and Jeff wherever you get your podcasts. Another great podcast on the D20 Radio Network.
Yep, and I my first Gamer Nation Con, I played an MVG game with them.
Right on. Yeah, they're awesome guys.
Oh, yeah, they're
Mhm.
They're
cool.
awesome guys.
And
He was the one where he just kept rolling good rolls, and we kept throwing our cards like, no, re-roll again, re-roll again, re-roll again, and he got like 10 of them.
I've had games like that. That's always fun.
and
So
if anyone wants to ask about our Eberron game, don't.
hey, I think our Eberron great game is awesome fun.
Yes, it's going very well for us.
Yes,
Yes,
it is.
Much to Nick's chagrin. So tonight on this episode, we're going to be talking about making and using homebrew in your games. So, what do you do when
Yes.
your game system of choice doesn't offer stats, rules, or other information for something that you really want to do in your campaign? Well, you whip up yourself some homebrew.
Yep, and homebrew material can be a lot of fun, and most GMs eventually end up using some to some degree sooner or later. It's just a fact of GMing.
Homebrew can have its unique sense of talents in creation and implementation. This episode, we're going to examine some aspects of that, see what advice we can offer to it, but ultimately we're going to put a big ol' asterisk here. There's no such thing as there's no proper way to homebrew.
Exactly, and it's definitely a group effort, if not on the GM creating it, on the players accepting it and giving feedback, of course.
Right. And that is an important thing. We're free-forming our discussion a little bit. We have a few like subheading kind of things, but I didn't think to put that down in the notes. You do want to get your players buy-in on homebrew. And
Some players are
here's
like they submit to like the DM GM's rule of law, or it's a little bit back and forth, but ultimately it's probably better to have the back and forth.
yeah, and it is perfectly okay if players create or come across online or wherever some homebrew that they think would fit the game to bring that to the GM's attention and say, hey, how about we give this a try? Yeah, that is perfectly a-okay.
Yes,
And
and I
for
know
those squares out there that are like, the rules are rules, rules are rules, it's like, you guys are valid too. If you
yes,
want to
and for
just play it
those of
perfectly.
you, yeah, and for those of you who hear homebrew and just think of all the D&D RPG horror stories you hear where homebrew comes up, it's not all like that. It's definitely a balancing game on what's feasible or what may be considered too OP for either a player or a GM, but not all of homebrew is what you hear in those stories.
And that is a perfect segue to the first subheading, which is balance.
Mm-hmm.
You want to make sure that when you're introducing some homebrew, that you're not just making an I win button for the players, or for that matter, a you lose button for the GM to apply on the players.
Mainly
Uh,
especially on the, I would say as a GM, that's always been my issue, is like trying to make something. Sometimes I give players or an item or a skill that's a bit too strong, makes them too powerful.
yeah, you want to
Exactly.
be able to have it serve a purpose. If you're doing, and homebrew can range from, here's why we say pretty much every GM is going to use some homebrew. If you make your own NPC, technically that's homebrew.
Exactly. Or if you make an NPC and you give them special abilities in a kind of setting where abilities are kind of just free form. Like, for example, our go to thing, Star Wars. Star Wars has rivals and nemesis. So when you make a nemesis, some nemesis have certain abilities. Like I know Dirge from the Clone Wars regenerates after
Yeah.
every round using his resilience. So we know that nemesis can have abilities, but there's no like default list of abilities you can give them. It's basically make it up and apply it to your character.
Yeah, and not to try to be too ominous, since Nick and I were planning the next session of a campaign that you're a player in, Robert, but we were coming up with some adversary special abilities today.
Nah,
But we
I look
did,
And
forward to it.
but we did look at them, and as part of this, trying to balance this character in sort of like
and
how they would fit into this against how we plan to use them and who they were.
and yeah, that who they were, you want in a case like that where you're applying some homebrew to a character, you want it to be thematically and character wise consistent with the character. You want it to mesh well. We're gonna, if we want to keep using Star Wars as an example, when Fantasy Flight started statting out named characters, um, when they did the Ghost Crew from Rebels, Hera's special abilities were all around being the pilot and owner of the Ghost. That was thematically consistent with Hera, as opposed to giving her a special ability that has to do with, say, pistol marksmanship.
Yeah. Or you could kind of do the inverse, like you said, they started statting out named characters, but we know in the beginning of Star Wars for Darth Vader, they didn't stat him out. All they said it was, "It's Darth Vader, run."
Yes.
But now they've actually statted him out, and as the
And
rule says, if you can stat it, you can kill it. So
but
some
Yes.
they
people may
also
go back
said,
to that previous one where it's just like, it's Darth Vader, you just gotta go, you
and
gotta
I
run.
will say that the way they said him and the equipment they gave him, he's still okay. It's that's the case of like, okay, it's Darth Vader run. It's like, all right, Darth Vader statted.
But it's still Darth
F
Vader.
around, F around and find out.
Yes, because I remember in the last Gamer Nation Con this year, one of the games, or actually no, it was last year once, because there was a Star Wars game I played in where just due to how I played my character at the end, I got to play as Darth Vader because one of the GMs used Darth Vader, and I got to see his abilities, and yeah, he's a beast.
It's like
Oh yeah,
I will say like, mhm.
if you take his statted out character in the adversaries book that they put out and give him his custom armor and lightsaber from the gear book that they put out, combine all of those stats, oh no.
It's like
Oh
it
no.
again. It becomes like, all right, if you're choosing not to run, well, gets around FA and found out.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean he's not impossible to destroy, because I know Daryl has his own glory story on how he did get to kill Darth Vader, which
And
will
Don't
be
know
it
for
took
what you're
another
talking
day.
about.
it
Mhm,
took
yeah,
it
totally.
took it took
But it
everything.
took a lot, and I forget, did your
It
character
took my
die in that?
character's life to do
Yeah,
it.
that's what I thought. Yeah, you still died, but you took him out. But
Yeah.
that just shows how strong he is. But going back on the topic, yeah, definitely got to balance it to the rules, but you also have to balance it to the setting. To use my own example, I run a cyberpunk game. I can't just throw a NPC that can use magic, because that it's not the setting.
Yeah.
There's no magic in cyberpunk.
Nor could you put up at least where we are and what we're dealing with. Could you throw out a full Borg like Atom Smasher at us? Like, not yet.
No, I couldn't, because Adam Smasher is basically the Darth Vader of cyberpunk. If you see him, you're dead.
Exactly, but it's like you understand like where we are in our storytelling. It's like if you do that, if you do send us up, we would probably in character and just from obvious or in the
Knowledge.
description of him would be like if you send something like that at us, we would know better to like back it up, back it up, back it up, and leave.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Back it up. We're backing up. Back it up.
And the fun thing about
And
balance is, I know you guys, sometimes you do homebrew because there's a rule in the book that seems too OP. For our famous example in Star Wars, scathing tirade.
yes. Yeah,
We're
because
totally not we're totally not still having PTSD from this Daryl.
not at all. Not at all. You want there to be that balance so that your homebrew is meeting its need but not sticking out like a sore thumb. Um,
Again,
there's
it's a rule of thumb ultimately. There's no real like metric. It is entirely table and even session to session, honestly. Like thinking about like that.
now there are systems out there like GURPS or Genesis that are specifically designed to encourage homebrew.
Exactly. They give you a template, but then they say, like, this is the template, but you can do whatever you want with it.
Do whatever you want. And one thing that I appreciate about Genesis is as they would put out new setting books, kind
New
of
tools.
tied in with the setting, but also to be applied to Genesis as a whole, they included new information about creating different kinds of homebrew for
Mm-hmm.
Genesis. Like my personal favorite, and I've adapted it to use in, yes, here we go again, Star Wars, because it's the same basic system. The Keyforge setting book had rules for creating alien species.
Mm-hmm.
Really
Yeah, and I think I
interesting.
actually
And
got it over there somewhere.
and prior to that, I tried my hand at making a few species from Star Wars, but it was really hard for me to get a sense of if I was balancing these homebrew species properly or not.
There were entire systems built around like you creating your own worlds. And but also role playing games as a whole is you're making your world. It's like it's when we make a Star Wars campaign, it's not unless we just say like we're only using canon Star Wars, and even that is like with a little caveat, be like this is our canon Star Wars where things happen. So this
It,
it would be very boring if it's like we're playing in the Lord of the Rings, and guess what? You're playing as the characters of the Lord of the Rings, and you're doing everything they do. It's not a fun role playing game.
Yes,
no,
you're
no.
Aragorn, so go kick that helmet.
and
Did you
break your
know?
foot.
Did you guys know that Viggo Mortensen actually broke his toe when he kicked the helmet?
I did, but my dad actually didn't. Once I told him, he was like, "Oh, really?" I was like, "Yeah, that's why it's so believable."
Oh yeah, like I thought I first thought that was just a rumor. Then I found out it was real. It's like, oh, that yell sounded so painful.
Let's peek behind the curtain a little bit and admit one thing, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages. There's professional homebrew. What I'm broadly terming as professional homebrew is exactly why, like, Wizards of the Coast has the now infamous open gaming license. It's why
Yeah.
Daggerheart, which was just released, has its open gaming license.
Yes.
So that there are third parties that have made, published, and sold what is effectively professional homebrew for
For better
D&D
or
or whatever
worse.
system.
Yeah. Basically, think of it as modders for RPGs,
Yeah,
Yeah.
for those that are in the video game space, yeah, it's just mods,
and some
But
mods do a complete overhaul.
and
now the
some of
balance,
them are very clearly geared to one audience. There's one I remember one infamous 3.5 mod that I stumbled upon.
Or heck, Gary's mod is just entirely full of mods. You can make a game out of a mod.
now the whole balance idea transitions very nicely into the next subheading, which is test if feasible.
Yes, you can't just say, "Okay, here's the rule. We're doing it."
Well,
It's
you
going to be
can.
here's the rule. We're going to try it for this session and see how everyone feels about it. And also if it
Yeah.
actually works as intended.
Yeah, because sometimes, and I've experienced this firsthand, sometimes what looks great and makes total sense on paper can end up being a jumbled mess in practice when you get it at the table.
So use the
Uh,
classic adage, everything goes to hell once you put it in the field.
well, and again, we're going to use a Star Wars example. We're always heavy on Star Wars examples.
And that's
That
where a
same
lot of
game
us
that
cut our teeth on.
Nick and I co-GM early on in a session, you guys as the players were transporting coaxium because you, that was a very dramatic thing in solo.
Hmm.
And so I sat down and I hammered out some homebrew rules for transporting coaxium.
Yeah,
Looked pretty good.
I gave
I
some
sent it to
feedback.
Nick. Nick gave some feedback. I hammered out more details, sent it back to him. He looked at it. He's like, looks good. We put it down in front of all of you as you were transporting the coaxium. And these homebrew rules, they didn't fall apart,
But
but
they weren't hitting how we saw them.
yeah, they weren't doing what we wanted them to do in spirit. Mechanically, yeah, we started following the mechanics that we put down on paper, but the more we were walking all of you through it and you were going through the
It
roles and the mechanics,
it wasn't
the
as
less
fun as we
sense it
were.
made to us.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was more we tried to put a triangle in a circle hole.
looking back on it, we probably should have done I'm not sure, like maybe a you and I play test or something. Either way, just like because on paper the rules made sense and sounded fun.
Well, and that's part of the problem is that the rules made sense to us because we made them. And then once we put them in front of players who weren't privy to what was
What we were
going on in our
thinking,
brains while we were making them, they're like, I don't get it. Oh, this doesn't. Okay, well, I'll do
and
it.
that's where we saw like it's sort of like personal stuff about me. I aspire to be a creative writer one day, maybe. But it's like my big problem is like I think ahead of myself. It's like, oh, this sounds like it makes sense, and I read back on it, and it's like, oh, I missed like half the words I wanted to put in there.
Yes,
That's
and it
sort of
ties
how
back. So good.
that's how it felt with this. It's like we 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 put in like our concepts of like what this system would look like, but we didn't think like how it would actually read out.
Yeah, and it just goes back to showing that homebrew is a collaborative effort. Yeah, the GMs can make it, but the GMs aren't the people who's actually playing through the campaign as characters. And if it doesn't make sense for the characters and the players, it's not going to
And,
translate well to the actual story.
and we
Yeah,
want them, yeah.
and I've run into it with homebrew that I found online and gone to incorporate into campaigns. In my one of my other Star Wars campaigns that I run, I found a really great gambling supplement online that added flavor to different games of chance rather than just being
Oh, I
a
think you
couple of
shared that with me. Yeah, I
sidebars in a couple of books
think you shared that
that
with me.
Fantasy Flight focused.
Yeah,
And again, on paper, everything looks good and everything makes total sense. And I started running someone through one of the variations of Sabak, and it worked well enough. I don't know if it was me losing track of where we were in the process, my player losing track in the process, a little from column A or a little from column B, or this being a case where it makes perfect sense on paper, but not in practice.
quite a while ago, I ran a homebrew adventure for the Alien franchise, for the Alien RPG, involving the Alien and the Predator. There
Oh
are some
yeah,
things.
I remember that.
There are some things that like I first heard about it. I watched someone do a live play of it on YouTube. It's like, oh, this seems cool and very interesting. Then I read it myself, and it was like, wait, this isn't how they did it in the YouTube or the podcast special. So I had to tweak it a little bit. It's like to get what we got. Sometimes like homebrew that even is very popular has to be like tailored a little bit.
And by the way, Nick, speaking of that game, I I don't want to speak for you, Robert, but I will, and I'll speak for Betsy because I think all three of us want the return of my two space dads.
Yes, I
Yes, and we
I've
are
thought
getting
about
to a point where you're going to do the colony portion. Perfect time to
yeah.
bring them in.
That would be a bad
Two
time
space
to.
dads.
That wouldn't be a bad time to bring him in.
Yes, and knowing the new Predator movie that's coming out, we now know they're crossing over
Oh, they were always
Yeah,
crossover in
even
my
more than
mind,
before.
but now even more than before. It's like,
yeah. Can I just have a moment to sit here and go, yeah, about that Badlands trailer?
oh, it's
Yeah.
and Alien Earth is 10 days away.
Oh, finally! I've
Oh,
been waiting for that.
Oh yeah,
But yes,
like the
and
fact
then
that
not
the fact
casual
that
nerdy.
yeah,
yes, very much so. Well,
very much
going
so.
back to testing, like Daryl and Nick said, sometimes what is on paper doesn't go well in practice. But that doesn't mean if it doesn't go well in practice, you immediately crumple up and throw it out. This is where the constructive criticism comes in, where what parts of it worked for your players, parts of it didn't, what they think might be a good way to change it, and that's where the back and forth comes through.
Yeah, and
Especially if it's
you know,
if it's a mechanic that you want to bring forth. The benefit that I think from what me and Daryl have learned is that we used it on mechanics that we didn't intend. We intended for them like small session based elements.
Yeah, and exactly. In fact, like Daryl said, just making your own enemies is a homebrew thing. And I remember during the Dark Knights of Ice campaign when I brought down that Terror Walker. After the fight, you guys did tell me, yeah, you may have given it too much armor because that is the game where I killed 2 people, and also it's just like they kept shooting it and it kept not
I,
dying.
I mean,
Or-
I am now tied with you as killing 2 characters in a single session.
Yes, but personally, you did it much better.
I would say yes. Yes, you did. But I
Because
would say
not
like,
only did it make sense, but it was great story moments.
but I would
Well,
also say like,
I appreciate the kind words.
you
It
did
had
the
much more sense than me just saying, "Okay, I attack you. Oh, that's a crit. Oh, end is nigh. Okay, I just stabbed you through the chest."
I will say that your Terror Walker is better than when I introduced it at a higher level for higher level characters. It is much more terrifying, and that's just because of how you design the boss fight. Much more.
And we
It,
we
it was it,
will
was- it was too strong for where you gave it to us, but I will say like, oh, I wish I had that level of presence and boss fight locator that you used. But I will say like, yeah, that's a bit too tough when you gave it to us.
and down the line a little bit, I know we have talked about doing an episode about coming up with adversaries. So, we will go much more in depth on that down the
Yeah,
line.
Yes, and I can
Um,
explain how I've made some of my adversaries, how you make some of your adversaries, all that stuff.
honestly, like I was so proud that I created, and sometimes we'll get into that, but I recently, based off of what I've learned, and just gonna attribute that to you, Robert, I made one of my best adversaries. Not necessarily because of how strong they were; they were strong, but it was the environment and the fight that we created.
Yes, yes, you did, and that is both for adversary and for glory story down the line.
Yes,
but if it's a mechanic or some homebrew that you want to be a surprise for your players, testing can be kind of hard. So you've got a couple of options there. You can snag a player or two that you trust not to metagame, or if you're fortunate enough to have access to additional players that aren't part of your normal group, uh,
it's
you
it's
can.
it's something I do think that part of the podcast purpose is to encourage like that. Like there's discords, there's reddits, there's forums, there's ways to reach out, and yeah,
Exactly. There's our Discord. There's the D20 Radio Discord. There's the Genesis
There's
Discord.
the main
There's
Steve
the
podcast.
there's the Me and Steve Discord. There's the Tabletop Empire Discord. I've not with Homebrew, but I've been helping a few people out with understanding some of the Star Wars rules in the Tabletop Empire Discord this week. Um,
there's Reddit groups, there's meetup groups, there's places where you can reach out for people that are there's places where people are. There's an entire subreddit for homebrew for people that's like put it out there.
Months ago on Reddit, someone was saying they were trying to put together a High Republic scenario, and they were having trouble coming up with how to do the nameless. Well, spoiler alert, I statted out the nameless back during phase 1 of the High Republic, so I posted my stats and it got quite a bit of praise, and people were like, "Oh, I love this, but I don't want to run into it as a force sensitive player."
Yeah, one
Which
thing
is
you'll
exactly
Yeah,
the idea.
yes,
one of the
one thing
main
we all
thing
know
about
about Daryl is once he finds something he's interested in, he will take that and just start statting it out.
same thing with me, but
I
the
mean,
main factor is like the reason why I even created the group that brought us together, and even our is doing this podcast is because yeah, we are living in a very interconnected world where it's like it used to be like yeah, a bunch of nerds in a basement, but now like we could reach out and it's like, hey, here's an idea I have. Do you want to like look at that? And someone can be like, oh, I looked at it, and it's like from my point of view, here's some good ideas, here's some things to change. It's like you can just reach out and find opinions out.
Yeah. And tying back into the testing, I know we've talked a lot about when homebrew doesn't work, but then you get the times where it does work and it's great. For example, going back, you and Nick's scathing tirade rule. As the player who started this debacle, in the moment I was like, "Aw," but then I was like, "No, this does make sense," and
It,
even
it
brings
worked
more challenge
really,
to my talker character.
and it really has worked. And it's like, again, like honestly, like the fact that they didn't realize how, not to say that you took advantage of it, but you realized that there was a power in that, and we realized that there's a power in that, and we had to figure out a way to make sure that it's balanced.
Yeah, and it makes sense for the plays because hurtful words are going to affect people differently depending on their level of just endurance or just iron
Yeah,
will, stuff like that. And then another good example is what I've done in my own Star Wars games where I just say, okay, Destiny pool, light and dark, great, great, flipping back and forth. Well, if you get all dark, I get to just throw something really crazy into the scene and just rewrite the entire narrative through that. You get all the light,
and
you get all light now, but then you also have to deal with this,
and that is
which
a
and
home
that
rule that is really interesting.
and that homebrew rule got just hearing about it got you enormous praise from the Gamer Nation Con
Yeah.
contingent from Austin.
Oh yeah,
I
they
happened to
love that.
mention it. I mentioned it in passing in part one of our Lord of the Holocrons game while we were waiting for people to get back from a bio break. And Jim's eyes got wide and he's like, "Oh, I love that." And he spread that word throughout their group. I was standing outside one night and he grabs, one of the other guys from the Austin group and is like and comes to me and like, "Tell him about the dark side thing." It's like, "What?" "The dark side destiny point thing. Tell him about it." "Oh,
I think I told
Robert's
you about
dark
this,
side
Robert. I think I told you about
Robert's
this,
dark
Robert.
side rule."
Or it might have been because you remember that I was not feeling well at that on the third day. It's like they were like, I heard them on the way back from my bio break. Two of them were talking about like, is he gonna do the dark side thing?
yes, and that's
And then
one of the
like,
good feelings when you hear it from others like that's a great idea, but also when you're running your own game and they're watching that dark side or dark side and that one point where they're like, "Oh, we may have hit that," but then we're like, "Wait, no, wait, it's almost all dark. Oh, we gotta. What can he do? Do we chance it? Is this a place where we need it?" Or then also when we're doing collab games,
yeah.
and they immediately ask, "Okay, are we using the homebrew rule for this?"
Yeah,
But that literally was like what they, because it was like there was like too late away from being full dark, and I came back from the bio break, and they're like, I heard about the dark side rule. Is that for all three of the games, or is it just for that one game? It's like, well, I didn't answer them because I overheard that, and they didn't ask the question either. But I could tell the two players that were like sort of conspiratorial, they're like talking with each other, like they were looking at that pool way heavier.
yeah, that is a fun rule. Or, it was fun it's not even a rule I use as a GM, but having seen you use it to great effect and seeing the excitement that other people had at just the very idea and wanting to adopt it into their game, I felt good for you.
Oh yeah, honestly, it may not be something that I do allow us to use it on our co game,
Mhm.
but I would definitely say that like, it's such a unique mechanic, and I don't think I would use it myself, but I would be proudly say that like if I ever did, I say this is for Robert. He did. It's a Robert original, and I will proudly say that. And it's honestly, that's kind of the fun of a homebrew that becomes like beyond the game that it originates in, and that someone else thinks like, I don't know, I'll carry that on.
Yeah, and that's all the fun and creation of a homebrew. Some things you're gonna miss, and some things you're gonna really hit. It's just a fact.
Yep. And that's a good time to go on into the other subheading that I have here, and that's the homebrew's relevance to the game. Is coming up with a piece of homebrew really the best way to tackle what you're wanting to do?
And
Um,
that's
or
ultimately
are
the most thorny issue.
or is it something that there's an existing rule that you can adapt for the game, for what you adapt it to what you want to do, not quite reskinning but
Yeah.
tweaking and modifying something existing so that it suits the purpose of what you're trying to do? Or are you just making up homebrew so that you can say, I made up something new?
Yes, and a great
And then,
example of
yeah,
just
there,
using something that was in a previous game. Daryl, Nick, you all have talked about how in Star Wars you just don't like the vehicle combat rules, and you feel they were much better used in a previous version. That you say other people you've talked to have just started using that instead of the fantasy flight
Cl-
vehicle combat rules.
well,
there,
close.
no,
There's still fantasy flight rules. So
it's a
Genesis, which was
different, yeah,
born out of the Star Wars narrative dice system, has a completely different, more streamlined and overhauled vehicle combat system. And so many people that I respect as GMs have adapted Genesis vehicle rules to Star Wars.
Exactly.
and I would really love to do that for a short campaign entirely Starfighter based
And
because it's so
and
cool. But it's like I haven't played it. I've only read it, and I
and
want to do that.
to that same end, um, our friend GM Chris, who joined us for our Gamer Nation Con review episode, hearing him talk on an episode of Nate's YouTube channel on Tabletop Empire, Chris was saying that these days he barely plays Star Wars raw. They they're using Genesis vehicle rules. They have almost completely transitioned the Force to the Genesis magic system. Basically, they're playing Star Wars in Genesis rather than in Star Wars.
Basically, but that's not a hard. It's not a
It's
difficult
not a hard
conversion.
transition, of course.
It's not a hard
What?
transition, but there's a the one thing that he said he's having trouble with making that conversion is he still likes having the light and dark aspect of the Force
Oh,
in
that
Star
I feel
Wars
that
as
that is,
written,
yeah.
and the Genesis magic system doesn't allow for that.
That's where I feel like that's why I probably would never fully convert. Like I do want to do and again, only specifically because from what I've seen, I do need to play and learn more about the Genesis vehicle combat because I feel that would make for a great Star Wars or Starfighter campaign. My
Well,
dream sort of like Top Gun Starfighter campaign, but it's like
well, so
we can't ignore the fact that like what makes the Star Wars or system so good is the light and dark system because it's so integral to to the to the franchise.
Yeah, especially
well,
to a Force and
so
Destiny campaign.
Chris and the Order 66 podcast did I've been recommending it to people elsewhere, so I was refreshed on the length of it. Order 66 did a 3-hour episode on converting Star Wars to Genesis vehicles. Now, part of why it's so long is they do have an actual play segment in there
Oh yeah,
to
then
not just talking about here's how you do it, but showing it in practice.
that's important.
And he did offer Nate to come on and discuss the conversion, even though they've got their own episode, and he's made that offer to Nate. Yeah, we could always reach out to Chris and see if he would be willing to come on and give us a a basic course in converting, because I have not played Star Wars with Genesis vehicle rules, but I have played in a game that Chris ran at Gamer Nation Con
well,
that
if I could
was
just if I could,
all all vehicle based.
I would glad that I could spend like the time to learn that because there's a game that I've been dreaming of running.
The
It sounds like
the the
that's the.
game the game that Chris ran was at Gamer Nation Con 80s.
Hmm.
The theme was the 80s, and the game that he ran was The Last Starfighters. We were all pilots and
Yeah.
gunners in Gunstars.
Based on what you described of that, that's like perfect. That's what I
We were
what I
never
want.
not in our ships.
Again,
After the opening, when we were given our mission briefing and launched, we did not get back out of our ships at all during the session. So yeah, I will make a mental note to reach out to Chris. But getting us back on track here, you do want it to be relevant to the game. And
but
like I
again,
said,
like as
is
we
there
described, like there's ways to like make the game exactly what you want. It could be like
is
you adapt it to like just that one system that you want to
well,
do.
we keep going back to Star Wars this episode as examples because that's the one that we have homebrewed the most.
Yeah, it's our best example of homebrew. I don't think I've homebrewed
But
Cyberpunk other than the city.
but in my Star Wars Rebel Yell game, where the conceit is that they're a band.
Hmm.
Well, if you're going to be a band, you have to perform.
And you
And
create a
Star
whole,
Wars,
yeah,
yeah, Star Wars doesn't have a system that could really simulate those band performances.
or a
So
battle of the bands.
Yeah, it's
I
actually
just
interesting you mentioned that because I was about to ask about your homebrew rules for performance, how you came up with them.
I literally sat down. I was like, okay, since a band is a unit, the best way to do it is with a skill challenge, as opposed to just being structured time where everybody takes a turn and tries to defeat an enemy or something. A skill challenge is a concept, for those unfamiliar with it, that uh, the group as a whole is trying to accomplish a goal, and they are in the narrative dice system. They are given a target of, you have to achieve X number of net successes before reaching Y number of failed checks. And
It gives
then
everyone a chance to perform, but
then yeah, then
yeah,
everyone in the group, and this, it's not limited to my performance
yeah.
rules, but with a skill challenge like that, everyone in the group then contributes to the goal by saying, "Oh, I can do this. So this is what I'm doing to achieve our goal." It could be a heist.
Mhm.
So you have, the hacker of the group saying, "Okay, I'm going to hack in to try to play a loop of a pre-recorded uh, security cam feed."
I'm the femme fatale, and I'm distracting the guard.
I'm the guy with the blowtorch. I'm cutting through the door.
Yeah, and each of you makes the check for each thing that you're doing.
Every success is contributing to the maximum
Right,
success score, but every failure
right,
is also preventing you from
working
having to
against
check
you.
this.
Yeah. So I knew that a band being a unit, a skill challenge like that was what I wanted to do for the performances. So then I sat down, I was like, okay, well, what is to prevent this from being every character using the same skill every single time that they're performing? Which yep, sometimes they do because it makes sense.
But
But
I think you just
the
again. Can I say what I interpreted how you did it before you explain how you did it?
go ahead.
How I interpreted it is like you let the players be their own thing. That they decide what like I'm doing this, and this is how I'm contributing to the performance.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. But
Oh, I got it
part
right.
of
Yeah,
part of part of the
Broken
way
clock twice a day.
part of the way I flavored it though is
I'm smart.
I am too smart. I am too smart. I am too smart. I am too smart. SMRT. I mean SMART.
but my wife Stephanie plays the group's singer. And what I was telling her is I was, noodling through this homebrew system for the performance is okay, as a singer, the kind of song that you're singing can determine which skill you're going to use to sway the audience.
Yeah, it
If
could be.
if you're performing like an in your face like rock song, it could be coercion. If it's a
Love
if
song.
it's a love song, yeah, it could be charm.
Or
If
deception if you're trying to be
or
more.
yeah, or deception. And the reason
And
I
that could
mentioned
be.
deception as a possibility, and she's like, deception. I was like, yeah, think about the lyrics to Blues Traveler's Hook. It doesn't matter what I say as long as I sing with inflection to make you feel I convey some inner truth or vast reflection.
But also think about like who's your audience? Are you trying
Yeah,
to is there an audience member that's like, oh, you want to sort of get them distracted?
Yeah, like also,
yeah,
what's the purpose of the song? Is it just a I'm performing, I want to do well? It's just like, hey, hey, look at me, don't look at them, look at
yeah,
me.
exactly. So what you're trying to do in that moment as the band will impact which skill choice you're making, which will in turn
Work on the
adjust
system
the
you made.
difficulty that I as the GM set for you.
Yep.
Honestly,
And
it's an elegant little system that where it's like multiple
and
skills can be used, but they're all using the same rubric, but it's judged by you and like what's the purpose, what's the plan, how
yeah,
they're using it.
and then in addition in there I set in the ability to add boosts and setbacks based on what's the size and mood of the crowd. How did your last gig go? And
Are there some hecklers?
Yeah,
I'm implementing a reputation system, which can also play into this. As their
because
reputation
they're
increases, more boosts can come. If their reputation drops, that could be setbacks.
and that's built off of the already existing reputation system inside of Star Wars.
Exactly.
So it's like
So,
the mechanics are building off of existing mechanics and then fueling this mechanic.
yeah, but this is a case where the game wasn't made to handle what that campaign is doing. Because I can guarantee you, no one at Fantasy Flight ever considered that some bozo in Texas was going to have the bright idea to make a Star Wars rock band campaign.
Oh, I'm
Maybe
sure
that.
they thought about it after Visions.
Oh no, that
But
This
yeah,
is
in the
true.
honestly,
but in the beginning they were like, yeah, why would we do that? That's never gonna happen.
and then your wife was like, "I want to do that,"
I I want to be a hut
Yeah.
rock star.
Yep.
and she
I believe that
did.
was the exact quote.
I do remember, like, you came like the next weekend after Legends, after Business came out. It's like, my wife wants to be a hot rock star. It's like, cool.
Well, I also remember the first episode where I think you, Nick, said was like, okay, I need to create the lightsaber umbrella.
I'm still working on that.
Nick, I'll talk to you offline because I have been meaning to work on an entire homebrew source book for all of Visions.
Oh.
So, we'll
Wait,
talk
wait, wait,
offline.
wait. Season three hasn't come out yet, man.
Well, yeah, I mean, I started this before 3 was a certainty.
Well, you forget they keep adding more books. There's no limit to books you can make.
Yeah. Yeah, and especially our own homebrew books. There's absolutely nothing preventing us from making a version 2 with with additional information.
This is true, but
Because again, that's one the good thing Homebrew has over just using an existing system is Homebrew really has no limits. It's all up to your
and you
imagination.
can and you
It
consider
can
that.
be a living system.
You can share that with friends.
I mean, heck, Daryl pointed out there are literally professional homebrews.
Mm-hmm.
It can be even a business if you wanted it to be.
You gotta be careful about that.
Like I said, if you want it to be, and that's also something you got to watch out for.
And it depends on the system.
Exactly.
But regardless of if you don't try to make it a business, you can at least share it with a community, share it with friends, share it with peers, get it peer reviewed, have them build off of that. It keeps this whole idea alive.
Yeah. And ultimately that's what all good homebrew does is it adds new excitement and life to a game that you all already enjoy but could be could use a little injection of something new because you're wanting to do something that just like in my case the game never thought anyone would try.
Yeah, and it's also for us GMs at least. It's homebrew is also a way we make it our own creation. Like you said, Daryl, no one expected to make a rock band campaign that is, unless I know anybody else, solely yours. It is basically, in the most endearing terms, your baby.
And
Just
maybe
as any campaigns we make, settings, people, atmosphere, stories, it's all ours.
and we want to also it's also fun to share those around. It's like an NPC in my game could become an NPC in someone else's game. What I thought was like a funny, quirky character could become like the big bad of a story arc, or a campaign element of like that's important to one game could become like the major linchpin of someone else's campaign.
Yeah, or like I said, right now, my favorite campaign is your Walking Dead game in Las Vegas, where I feel like it's not only a campaign and a game, I almost feel like we're making a novel.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, we are making our own TV series.
Yeah,
our own
literally.
like we're
I mean,
carving out
Nick
our
literally plays the last time on The Walking Dead before every session.
and it's
Yeah.
like we're carving out our own part of the Walking Dead universe is large, but it hasn't touched this part of part of the world yet. So
Yeah, and
this is
it's
our way of
yeah, and
carving
we
it
have
out.
highs and lows. In the last session we did, where Daryl through no real trying on his own got two players killed in that session. That
No,
was
they got
literally a
themselves killed.
yeah, that
Uh,
was a made for screen type of session. It was just like
yeah,
you could just hear someone in the background going and cut.
Yeah.
it was artistically done,
Yeah,
but like
I I had a lot of fun running that session. I am going to give credit where credit is due to all of you as my players
oh, thank
because
you.
at least half of what happened in that session happened because of the actions that all of you took.
Yeah, and it
Thank
was
you.
it's yeah, and
Thank
it
you
was
kindly.
yeah, definitely going to be a glory story in the future. But it was just so believable because you could see like, okay, I see why you would do that, and why your character would react like that, and why they would say, okay, try this, but then they don't try that because they got this deep-seated insecurity, and it all just
Oh,
played out.
At the risk of ruining the mystique and peeling back the curtain too much, I walked in knowing that the festival was going to happen and that the emperor's speech was going to happen, and I since there was an endless possibility of things for all of you to choose to do, I totally winged it all.
Yeah, and as you see, sometimes winging it makes the best sessions.
honestly, I
Be-
think that itself would be a great. But I do great another episode for us, like because there is a advantage to winging it, but I do have like a great way to wrap us back around when we end this, because we did mention that the how much I it's no secret that I love me some Eberron.
right?
Eber
No, really?
Eberron is itself a homebrew. It was for a contest in the early 2000s where many people brought up their own homebrew campaign settings to become actual campaign settings in D&D. And that was the one that won from Keith Baker.
Yeah, and it's also the reason all three of us say, okay, what was number 2? Or what were the top 10?
Right.
Because Eberron was so well done.
It's so well done. And it's like, so it is truly like it's redefining like homebrew, where it's like, what if we took everything you knew and just recontextualized it? And it's so fascinating that that's been reprinted over and over again since then. Created one of the most popular classes, the Artificer, uh, beloved uh, character types like the Warforged and the Changeling. All of that was one person's homebrew.
Which I don't know how long this contest was, but however long it was, he got a lot done.
And he's still homebrewing to this day, working with. He has a blog. He does a whole lot of stuff to keep on the homebrew alive, explaining questions whenever people ask them. Oh, he's even answered a couple of my questions.
Yeah. So, yeah, one of the big takeaways we can say from this episode is don't think homebrew is just you got to do it in a vacuum. You can reach out, talk to people you know, your own players, other GMs that you know, or even just reach out to a forum online to be like, okay, I have this idea. How would you build on that, or what would you change, and how do you think it would work in this setting?
It could be as small as like, here's a homebrew weapon, to a whole setting, to just a guy, just a villain or a hero.
Very much so.
Yeah, so never treat it like all the homebrew is on your shoulders. Never think it's you got to do everything and everything's going to be good. Everything has to work because you made this, and if it doesn't work, well then you completely failed and you should never do this again. No, never think that.
And there's no reason to think that like, oh, if I'm just doing like a pre-made adventure, it's like everyone starts there, and even then you'll see like, oh, my players are not gonna be able to fight this guy. I need to adjust his stats. That's homebrew.
Or take a built-in campaign and like even the book says, use it to springboard your campaign. Like you did, Nick, with a certain starting campaign.
Uh,
Yeah.
y- I've done that several times now, but I know
And
what
we'll
you're
keep
talking
doing
about.
it because it works.
It works. But hey, I think we're at a good point where you guys have to
Yep.
I
Yeah,
mean, we aren't there. You haven't bullied me yet.
I bullied you a little.
we bullied you a little, and we know that the game that you're running for us tomorrow is one of the ones that you work the hardest on playing. So you're probably at a low level to defend yourself, which is a perfect opportunity for the squirrels to take over the house.
Yes, because I just saw some scenes from that old movie Over the Hedge.
Oh no!
And there's a squirrel in
Oh,
there where he drinks soda, all time just stops and he can do whatever he wants.
Yeah. Oh, what happens if we give the squirrels an energy drink?
you guys know that I'm gonna have nightmares now.
Our job of bullying Nick is done.
And that's how we get to the closing.
That's how we get to me saying check out our website at howwerollgaming.com, and there you'll find information about our current campaigns, podcast archive, and links to our merch store, as well as all of our social media.
Yep. And you can also directly support the show through Patreon. Just go to patreon.com/howwerollgaming and you'll see our different membership tiers starting at just $2 a month. There's special recognition on our Discord server and higher tiers, giving you on-air credit and discounts on our merch store.
Finally, if you have any questions you'd like us to answer, topics you'd like us to cover, or even submit your own RPG glory story, shoot us an email at podcast@howwerollgaming.com.
And we thank you all once again for joining us as always, and we will see you again next time. As we always are, I'm Daryl,
I'm Nick.
And I'm Robert.
and this is How We Roll.